Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're going to talk about what we mean by when we say de-risking. On this show, we talk about de-risking projects. We say rewrites are very risky, and that if you thesis ship, if you deliver iteratively, that will help you de-risk the project. And we haven't really defined what we mean by de-risking. So going forward, you want it at the end of the day, you want to deliver the project, and that's a hugely risky thing. If you're doing a full rewrite, you're going to end up with almost a binary option. You're going to have it will be a complete success or it'll be a complete failure, right? You either get the whole thing out and shut off the original or you don't. And that's hugely risky because, it's a binary response. But if you deliver iteratively, it's you get lots and lots of chances, and some of them they don't all have to pan out, and you can still make progress. So, as an analogy, a gambling analogy, right? If you play blackjack, as I do, or used to, back before I had kids, and you sit down at a blackjack table with decent rules, you have something like a 48% chance of winning, 49% chance of winning. So if you sit down and you make 50 bets, at the end of that time, you would have 49 bets of money left. You would expect to have lost one versus 100 bets. Anyway, but you could also sit down and take all your money and make one bet. And if you succeed, you've doubled all your money. But if you fail, you've lost all your money. But if you sit down and you break your money up into 50 bets, so let's say you could sit down and bet $50, or you could sit down and bet $1 50 times. Statistically, you would end up in the same place, except that if you run out of money, then you stop. So the betting $1 continuously, you're much, much more likely to get to the end because you won't run out of money. But also, a streak of bad luck won't destroy you. Like if you get a couple of bad breaks, you can roll with it because you're not betting at all.
Well,
And I
one
think
interesting, to piggyback off this analogy here,
yeah,
one great thing about the second method of betting $1 at a time is it gives you the opportunity midway through to decide, do I still want to do this?
yes,
Right? That's a huge piece because midway through you go, I've lost some money. I'm not getting the joy out of this anymore, or something has changed about why I wanted to play this to begin with, and I can leave without having lost everything. And I think that's the optionality that we mean when we say we want to de-risk a project. We want the ability to stop midway through or pivot if we can.
right. That's a huge benefit as well, to break out of the analogy and just go with the two things that de-risking gets you, right? One, you can stop. You be like, oh, well, I'm 25% through and I've lost every single time. Maybe I don't want to go. Like, there's no point in continuing if I'm just going to keep losing. Versus if you were just making one bet, you don't know if you're going to fail. If the first 25% was failed, you only get one shot.
Yeah.
The second part is, let's say you're on a hot streak, right? And you've won 25%. You've won 25 bets in a row. You can still stop, right? Let's say the babysitter calls, showing my age here. And if you've made 25 small bets and they were all winners, and you have to get up and leave the table, you leave a winner. You can't even get up and leave in the middle of a hand in a casino. I guess I don't know what they would do. But in the larger analogy, if you're 25% through a project and you haven't delivered anything and you have to stop, then it's all gone, right? It's all work in progress and it all goes away. But if you delivered 1% 25 times, that 1% is still that 25% is still delivered. It's out there,
Right.
and it's adding value, and you can come back to it or not.
Right. So we kind of touched on this thread last episode too. Well, one of the past episodes. um, where the idea of saving everything and delivering it in one big bang, hey, it's here, is basically doing a disservice, because if that ends up not, if you end up not keeping that in production and having to roll back,
Hmm.
then all that work that is basically just taken away from the customer. And doing this kind of iterative way is giving it bits of value here and there. And even if you decide in the end we don't want to go the full route there, there's still bits and pieces of work that maybe have provided value, even if you don't want to deliver the entire thing.
That's a great call out because that's a risky thing that I see a lot with large releases is, oh, we've released all of this code, all this value, and there's a
Yeah.
bug. It's a show-stopping bug. We have to roll back. And because it's all tied together, you have to roll back everything. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, look at this giant splashy thing. You're mind blowing. The customer's like, wow, my mind is blown. It's just so amazing. And like, oh, actually, we made a mistake. We have to take this back now.
Yeah.
And we hope to get it back to you in a week or two.
Maybe.
Like that's it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you gave them little bits, like, oh, well, I'm going to give you a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow, and oh, this one's bad, we're going to take it back. Okay, we're going to bring it back.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. You won't blow their mind, but you also won't ever have a giant flop.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with like releases, right? Like when you think about um, CI/CD, when trying to get things into production often, just frequently.
Yes.
If you cut like releases and you only released once every quarter or month, or like for larger companies for a product, and there's a ton of bug fixes along with features in whatever you're about to release, and you have to roll that back, that's a lot more work than being able to deliver daily and like, oh, there's just one bug, we should cut back to the last good tag that we had, essentially.
Right.
It's,
Yesterday.
yeah, it was yesterday, it's just only a few commits or whatever in between, rather than going like, oh man, well, we have to roll back quickly now, and now take away everything, and now let's go through and see what the bug was while we completely revoked all of the other work, the good work that wasn't an
Mm-hmm.
issue that we've clumped together with this, that we've been able to untangle. So
Right.
that's de-risking, is we want to break things
Right.
into pieces, so if something goes wrong, you can still provide value without tanking the whole thing.
Right. It reduces risk by decoupling
Mm-hmm.
the good from the bad and the good from the good. And so you can release them in, let's say something changes and you only want to release half of what you wrote. Well, now you've got to spend time breaking that apart. But if it was never together to begin with, then it's much easier to deploy it and get the value.
Right.
So I think to
De-risking
summarize,
is decoupling,
it,
in
it
essence.
mostly is. It mostly is. It's de-risking is about reducing the risk based on time.
Mm-hmm.
I come from finance, and deeply embedded in my knowledge base is the idea that time is risky. And the more time that passes, the more you have to pay for something. So if I want to borrow money and I'm going to pay it back tomorrow, that's less risky than if I'm borrowing money and I'm going to pay it back next year or
Mm-hmm.
30 years.
Right.
But part of how Wall Street has de-risked this over the years is, oh, well, you're not going to pay it back in 30 years. You're going to pay back some money every month for 30 years.
Right.
And so, like the 30-year mortgage is a de-risking instrument because instead of saying what they had before the fully amortized mortgage came out, you had a mortgage with a balloon payment. You say, hey, I want to buy this house. And they say, okay, we'll lend you this money. You have to pay up the balance in 5 years.
Hmm.
And this is where the traditional, oh no, the bank is coming to seize the farm kind of plot lines came from 100 years ago. It's because all the mortgages were balloons. You either had the money to pay off the mortgage in full, or the bank was going to take everything.
Hmm.
And it was very risky. That was the whole plot line. And then they came up with this amortizing mortgage where you paid every month. And if you couldn't pay, then they would take it then. And so there was no giant risk
Right.
I think we are wildly off topic,
No, no, this is
but it's
still
interesting.
it all ties together. Yeah,
Yes.
just in general, yeah, try to de-risk your projects by decoupling them, um, and breaking them into little pieces that still provide value, so
Right.
that if the worst happens, you've still been able to deliver part of what you want. Or if things change and you're midway through something, you give yourself the optionality to say, "Oh, we've tested this theory out," or the customer has gotten back to us. That was one of the driving proponents of this project.
Mhm.
Things have changed. Now we can pivot without losing everything, even if that's just like money. Like the idea of like the MVP, for example, is a de-risking concept where put an MVP out there. Oh, no one liked it. Oh, great, because we didn't spend time architecting the most amazing scaling solution in the world. We just did what we needed to test if this was viable. Great. We've lost money, but we didn't lose as much as we could have if we have built this the other way. So we built it intentionally, thinking that this is a risky project that we might not want to commit to. That's
Right.
a good optionality there too.
Right. Yeah. De-risking is about getting feedback earlier so that you can make changes sooner. With the side benefit of if you also provide value earlier because that's how you in theory you get the feedback is by you providing the value.
The value too, like for the MVP concept, the value too could just be that you've saved money on uh, employee costs because
Mm-hmm.
you've decided not to go this particular route or build it the most expensive way. So it doesn't have to necessarily mean value to the customer. It could be value to the company as well, that you've saved them money by testing out a theory and cutting an expensive product that would not have come to fruition. You've cut that off early, thereby
Mm-hmm.
still providing value.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we should leave it there.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.